Hi there, thanks for joining me. I have a flip through today of a journal I recently completed. I made this from a 1951 dictionary. It's a dictionary from German to Dutch, or Dutch to German. You know what? I honestly can't remember because I have two. I had a German to Dutch one and I have a Dutch to German one. So I believe this is the German to Dutch. And I've had a lot of fun with it, as you can see. Although this journal had really cool embossing on it that I really liked, I still wanted to have fun with the cover. So you'll see here that I've used as the holder for to keep it closed. I've actually put an old vintage door latch right onto it. And it's still got the old paint from whatever it had been used for previously. And I think that's kind of fun. You'll also see up here, I've got an old vintage key, an old vintage I think it's part of a door latch, another key. It's not vintage, but it looks like it. But I still got it secondhand. And as is common with my books, everything in this book comes from secondhand sources. I really like my journals to truly be repurposed in just about every sense possible. The only thing that I think, I'm examining this from top to bottom, I think this little bulldog clip right here, although it looks old, it's rusted, I've rusted it, that was brand new. I purchased that new. And the end papers came from TaylorMade Journals. She has a digital kit of antique end papers, and I really thought this series of journals that I made, because there's 4 of them that are similar, they're not all exactly alike, I thought they deserved some really beautiful end papers. So I did make use of TaylorMade Journals, beautiful end papers. Now the spine, it's a 2¼ inch spine, so this is a big book. And the writing that was underneath here wasn't so pretty, and I thought this spine really deserved to be pretty. So I've put a picture of Frida Kahlo, one of her own self-portraits. She did so many beautiful ones. And I've put that on the spine. So I've been affectionately referring to this this journal as Frida. And this comes from a book. Whenever you see illustrations in my journals, quite often they come from books that I've cut up piece by piece. Again, I find them at thrift stores. I find them in secondhand bins that are going to be thrown out. I get them from all kinds of sources. So that really makes each journal quite unique. Now, after I removed the text block, I put in my own text block, and I do it with a hollow back spine method. And in this case, this journal has 11 signatures, and she has 244 approximately pages of varying sizes, as you'll see when we get into it. I've put some purposefully ratty looking lace at the head and foot of her spine, and I think it looks really cool. And then you'll see she's got a permanent ribbon bookmark that's attached right to the spine. So let's take a look inside in Frida. So here you'll see those beautiful end papers that I was telling you about. This little sticker was original to the book, so I was able to save it from the original end papers and put it back in again, and that's where it was originally in the book. Here's the original first page, and there you can see it was published in 1951. And then I've used a variety of pages from out of other books that I have, and also from papers that I have tea-dyed. Pocket that I've made from leftovers of the papers for the end papers. And as ever, all my journals go home with a 2 Nanas photo strip bookmark that I make. And those 2 Nanas were the Nanas in our family. One is my mother and one is my grandmother. And they were both known as Nana. Hence the name 2 Nanas bookmark. Here's a tag that I made. It's made from a business file folder. So it actually is sewn right into the signature, and there'll be another one. We'll get to it as we as we go through. This page came from a 1937 Pittman shorthand textbook. This is from a 1985 daybook. This came out of I believe it was a 1960s book on fishing. Lots of lace all through this book, you're going to see. Lots of sewing through this book. I've left the threads long. You can trim them if you wish. I like them long. So a little more sewing here. You can journal here. This is a vintage place card setting. Usually you would put the person's name there. I tea-dyed it to give it a little more character, and it's also a tuck spot. Lots of these little tangled bundles of thread. I just had fun with that in these series of journals that I've done. Lots and lots of journaling space. This is tea-dyed blank music composition paper. A little tuck spot behind this tag that I made into a tab, and again the sewing with the tangles. A little charm that I put on the bulb pin from a necklace that I took apart. And then the other side is also a tuck spot. Come on, in you go. Thank you. And then I had fun again down here and put in another tab and another bulb pin with a little dangle from a necklace. And it's also a tuck spot, so I put a blank Rolodex card in there. Paper ruffle made from the packaging paper from an Amazon package that I received. This is a page from a book of days from a Beatrix Potter book, and I tea-dyed it. This little spread here I created. It's actually from the pages out of a copy of the Tax Law of Canada. I believe it was 1940? 1940, it's in the 40s. I'll have to check. Usually I write it down, and I didn't. I'll try and remember to do that for you. But it's also a tuck spot. Again, more leftover end papers, so I put that there. This is a tuck spot behind these statues. Both of them are tuck spots. And then back here is another tuck spot. And then more of the Beatrix Potter page. Here's a little tip out of some tea-dyed ledger paper. Again, this one happened to have 2 pages interior that showed what year it was, so I put it back in. This is from a 1979 birding book, and a little page out of a travel diary that I tea-dyed. This is a 10-year gardening diary that I found once out in Trenton, Ontario. It tips out, a little bit of sewing, a little Rolodex card. This is from a 1965 Ladybird reading book from Great Britain. A little bit of sari silk that I've sewn along the edge there. This is an envelope that I made out of a book of the Birds of Paradise. And then I've put inside a little vintage index card. That's nicely yellowed, and Mother Nature and Father Time did that, not me. A little tip out here on ledger paper. Some more lace here. This is from a 1940s wildflower book. A little folio out of there. So if you've seen the other flip-throughs for the 3 other books that are in this series, you'll see that they're similar, but they're not all the same, of course, because I use actual papers out of books, so they never can be the same. There will never ever be another book exactly like this one. So that kind of makes it cool, I think. This book, I know that looks like, uh-oh, she made a mistake. You'll see that this side is upright, and so is the other side. It was a strangely printed book on calligraphy that I have, and every other page, if you use it as I refolded it to fit into this book, and it means that one side is upside down. I still think it's beautiful and pretty, so I put it in anyhow. More of the Amazon packing paper. A little pocket made out of some Tim Holtz fabric that I got in Happy Mail. So I put a bingo card in there. And there's lots of sewing again, and a bit of lace that hangs out the bottom. I think that really looks neat. Again, lots of the tangles. Totally went crazy with the tangles. A little bit of Edith Holden made it into these books. Here's the permanent ribbon that can be put anywhere in the book. Some old quilting graph paper. This is a page out of a vintage school atlas. A little tuck spot here. This is a calendar from the 1900s. It's not actually from the 1900s. Now I forget what year this was published, but it had that calendar in it. And I like it, so I made it look a little older and turned it into a little tuck spot. That's the fun you can have when you use books to create your ephemera for journals. A little tab here with some leftover ribbon. It's the same ribbon from the permanent bookmark. And there's a little eyelet in there, so if you wanted to put something through there and dangle it, go right ahead. I had a big piece of end paper left over here, so I made a tag out of it. You could journal on the back, but in reality, it's really big. You could cut this up and make something else out of it. You don't need to use that end. So you can use, oh, there's when I create these books, I use these to help myself work through all the different signatures. So you can make something else out of that. You don't have to use it as a tag. So again, right here is the little Rusty Bulldog clip. It's got some leftover lace from one of the edgings, and I just used it and tied it onto the Bulldog clip. So this was brand new. I purchased it new and rusted it to make it look old. And I do believe, I could be wrong, and I'll point it out if I see anything else. I believe that's the only brand new thing in this whole journal. Everything else, all these papers, all came from somewhere else. And again, a folio from out of a guest book, and I've tea-dyed it. I love putting these into journals. A little collaging here with a bit of lace and turned it into a tab. And then there's a tuck spot here from a ticket. Steno paper, some old music paper, 1912. And that tips out a bit more. Some more ruffled paper from Amazon packaging. This is some bullet journal paper that I tea-dyed. I like that when edges of papers have unusual holes and punches. And this is a tea-dyed index card that I just sewed to make that tip out. Hold on, a little bit bigger. A little more lace along here. And I made this tip out with a vintage flashcard on it. So that extends that a little bit further, and you can have fun with that to collage on it or do whatever you like with that. from a botanical sketching book. This is from a pad that I have of printable menu place settings for if, say, you're having an elegant meal and you wanted everyone to have their own menu where they sit. That's what this was from. Found it at a thrift store. I don't know. And it was so long, I had to fold it in to fit in. So I put a tab on it, and I used photos from a 1964. I'm looking at the book on my shelf over here, 1964 school yearbook. And there's two different people on either side. I think that's so fun. Another little tuck spot that I created with leftover end papers with sewing and more of the tangly thread. And then this is just a tea-dyed music theory flashcard. And then more of that yummy end paper from TaylorMade Journals. And then my little signature at the back and the year that this book was recreated. So thanks for joining me for this flip through. If you think this might be your kind of journal, it will be available in my Etsy shop along with some extra papers left over from the text block. So I'll send that along with it. And head on over to my Etsy shop and take a look if you think this is something you would enjoy. I used the latch to hold that ribbon in place to keep it closed. Head on over and take a look. The link will be down below. Thanks for joining me today. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Take care.